Welcome back, everybody, to the ninth episode of Bulletin Sports Talk. I'm your host, Brian Rathbone, and we are finally back after a 2-week break as we kind of got back into the swing of things with high school sports making its return for the first time this month. And boy, it was almost a full calendar year. Today's guest, we got Harper Justema, a senior volleyball player for Summit. We're just going to chat a little bit about her career as a volleyball player and kind of what's next for her coming up this fall when she takes off to college at Columbia University. Before we get to her, I just want to say just how nice it is to have high school sports back in action. You know, it was a kind of a long year of a lot of uncertainty and a lot of just like unknowing of what was going to happen and what kind of the end of this would look like if we would lose kind of a whole nother year of high school sports. But thankfully, we were able to get them back, which was kind of, I think, is kind of a welcoming sign for kind of everyone involved. It was just kind of a long year for a lot of people, and it's just nice to have them back. Even though it's not quite what people were kind of anticipating, you know, obviously that, you know, we have really short seasons. There's no there's no playoffs or state championships or anything like that. You know, obviously, you know, because of the circumstances, you can really just kind of see, you know, the players and the coaches that they're kind of okay with it and kind of, you know, just kind of really just kind of relishing in this opportunity that they have to compete again. So yeah, like I said, just great all the way around for everyone to be back playing, and I'm certainly happy for it, and I hope you are as well. So anyway, here's Harper. Alrighty, we're joined here with Harper Justema, Summit senior player, volleyball player, and joining us here on St. Patrick's Day. So Harper, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing good as well. Thanks again for joining. You know, I mentioned before this, you know, it's kind of it's really great to have, you know, sports back and, you know, teams competing again. What's just kind of the last couple of weeks kind of been like for you? You know, getting back into, you know, the swing of things a couple months late of your senior year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's been super weird to get back into it, but it's been awesome to get back in the gym. And, you know, we haven't played official volleyball or like 6-on-6 volleyball in like about a year now. And so it's been honestly just really exciting and a little overwhelming to just get to play like almost every day with an awesome team. And, you know, just serious games means a lot more to us than it would have a year ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So like I say, you know, it kind of means a little bit more. Can you kind of elaborate kind of a little bit on that a bit more?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that like Summit Volleyball is, you know, we're historically one of the better programs in the state. And so I think that a lot of times we take it for granted how often we get to play and how lucky we are to get to play the sport we love every day. And I think that coming off COVID, these practices and these games just mean the world to us. And we just cherish every moment a little bit more than we used to.
Mm-hmm. So I kind of want to get into, you know, when you kind of started playing volleyball, when you kind of started taking it seriously. So when did you start playing?
I started playing in fourth grade. I played park and rec volleyball, and sixth grade I went to, it used to be called OVA, which is like club volleyball tryouts, and I was supposed to be trying out for like the local team where you just like practice like once or twice a week and just kind of like screw around and like learn how to play volleyball. And I was like 5'8" going into sixth grade, so I was pretty tall, and they were like, yeah, you should try for the travel team. And I was like, okay, I had no idea what that meant, tried out, and they put me on the team. And I told my mom, and she was like, 3 times the cost. And I was like, she's like, you get 1 year. So she's like, you've got 1 year to make it on the court, and then if you keep doing it, we'll keep you on the team. And I used to be really awful at volleyball because I was super, super skinny and like weak. And they put me on the court and they put me in the back right corner, and I wouldn't touch the ball. I would just be supposed to be the loudest person on the court. So I got into it originally pretty much as like the number one cheerleader. And then it kind of evolved into more of a love as I got a little bit better at it.
So it sounds like you had to be able to continue to play. You had, you know, that pressure on you kind of at an early age of sixth grade. It's like, hey, if you want to keep playing on this travel ball team,
Yeah, definitely.
you got to be on the court.
Exactly. And I was like, all right, I'm going to get myself on the court. Doesn't hurt that I'm pretty tall, but definitely managed to scream my way onto that court for a while.
That's funny because one of the questions, my like very next question that I have written down is, you know, you're listed 6'2", you're tall, you're a high jumper in the off season, but was volleyball something that's kind of just, like, my question was like, was this something you just kind of like grew into, or were you always just kind of tall and just kind of like, hey, just kind of put you in there because you do have kind of those traits to be what they look for in a middle blocker?
I've grown like 4 or 5 inches every year. I've been super tall my whole life, but definitely took a while to like grow into my body and learn how to actually move it instead of just like throwing limbs out there. So I think definitely it all kind of came together more like my freshman year, and then kind of from there I've been building on more and more. But middle school years were mostly just like a lot of yelling and mostly just did it for fun. But I got super serious about it like freshman year.
Yeah. How much of your years kind of committed to volleyball?
11 months a year are volleyball, because I mean we play it was school volleyball starts in August, and like early August we start training, and that goes usually through November. This is a regular year, and then we play club volleyball is 2 weeks after tryouts, are 2 weeks after school volleyball ends, and we play till June. So July is huge fun relaxation, pretty much where we all just lay on our couches because we're exhausted. And then the other 11 months a year are all volleyball.
How many games a week does that kind of equal, or how many games a year do you guess you play?
Let's see. So for school volleyball, we play 2 games a week, which is a lot. So we play twice a week, and we practice 3 times a week. And then for club volleyball, we practice less. We practice like 2 times a week, and then it's weekend tournaments. So like about like 2 weekends or more a month are dedicated to like 3-day volleyball tournaments, which are usually pretty far away. So it's like 3 days of volleyball and like 2 days of travel, because we play all across the country.
Okay. Where are some of the places that you've played?
We have played, let's see, we've played in Florida, we've played in Denver, Colorado, Kansas City, Missouri, let's see here, Spokane, Reno, Georgia, Texas, kind of everywhere, like all the random places, pretty much wherever's got the biggest convention centers where we're heading.
And is this like a team that's made up of people from Central Oregon? Is it kind of more of a Oregon, or is it like a West Coast team? Because I know kind of like the club scene, it's like you can be playing with people from
definitely anywhere. So historically I've played for what's called NPJ, which is North Pacific Juniors, and it's a team of all girls from Bend, because we do have enough girls to make some pretty good teams here. And then this year we weren't sure if that was going to happen, so I'm actually playing for a team in Boise, Idaho right now. It's called Idaho Crush, kind of a fun name. And so I play for them. So not right now, I'm kind of in an off period, but usually Monday through Thursday is spent in Boise, Idaho, and I do classes remotely, and then I am home Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and play Sunday. So I am kind of like I was living in Bend like half time and living in Boise the other time to play volleyball.
Okay. Are you in Bend right now, or are you in Boise?
I'm in Bed right now because for school volleyball season is so short that I'm just taking a 6-week break. And so I don't practice with my Idaho team. I'm playing for them on the weekends. So like I leave tomorrow for a tournament with them, and then I'll be playing with my summit team during the week.
Okay. No, it makes sense that you play on a travel team that's kind of all kind of Bend area, players, because there's a lot of good volleyball played like throughout the area. Like you go and you see like the state championship, brackets that, are in gyms, and it's all like Crook County, Summit, Mountain View, Bend. It's just like
awesome.
It's like there's like and then there's Ridgeview and Bend's one state title. There's just it's a nice little cradle of
it's awesome. I think in the last like 5 or 6 years, Summit, Bend, Ridgeview, and Crook County all have state titles, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, what's it like just kind of being in an area where there is just kind of that kind of depth of talent, and just how does kind of being in an area kind of like that kind of make you a better volleyball player? Is kind of, I mean,
it's kind of awesome because we play with like all the high schools play together for club volleyball, so like we play alongside everyone during club season, and so that makes just like when we play, we spend like 40-50 hours a week together sometimes for club volleyball. And so once you get to play them in high school volleyball, I think it just makes the atmosphere so much more competitive, because these are your best friends and your teammates, and you get to play with them half the year, and then you get to try and beat them for the other half. And I think it's just such a competitive environment. And I think it honestly just like breeds some of the better volleyball players in the state.
Mm-hmm. So before I, started covering high school sports, volleyball was never really a sport that was on my radar. When I first started, my career, I was covering an area where the volleyball wasn't great.
Mm.
And it wasn't until I kind of moved here where all of a sudden, you're at these, games and, the stands are packed and the atmosphere is really kind of intense and the volleyball is really good. And one of the things that I just kind of, really kind of enjoyed about the sport is that it seems at times it is super chaotic, but then there's definitely like a structure to it. And then like something that just looks chaotic, like after one hit is also, very structured.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think there's like we always are on the goal of like being structured, and we always want to because the goal is like pass, set, and then hit it. But I mean, it's unpredictable. And especially if you play teams who aren't as good at getting that pattern down yet, it's like the lack of ball control can make it a really chaotic looking game. And I think that's the most fun thing about the sport is that it's like one of the quickest reaction times in sports, because I mean, there's just there's baseball and a lot of things, but the reaction time of a ball hurtling at your face or a ball flying to the back corner is just kind of crazy. So it's really interesting to watch games sometimes because girls are just busting their bunts to the corners, and then you're just trying to pretty much get as many hands on the ball as you possibly can. And I think that's what makes the sport so awesome.
Yeah. How do you kind of build that structure when, you don't know where the ball is going to go and you are kind of, you have people just flailing way out of bounds and whatnot. How do you kind of?
Definitely. I think it's one of the hugest things is a lot of communication on the court because you're 6 girls and you're trying to cover a lot more space than 6 people can cover. And so I think not only communicating where you are on the court, but also the structure of trying to line up where you're supposed to be. Your coach gives you locations on the court where each player is supposed to start. And then basically the way they line you up, you should be able to get a hand on a ball wherever you throw yourself. So, I mean, the structure, it's honestly something that doesn't develop until really high level volleyball. And that's where you see it the most. And I think it looks just much more organized when you watch, if you watch a collegiate volleyball game, it's so much more structured than any other game you're ever going to watch. And I think that it's interesting because you don't do as many play calls as some sports, or you don't, you're not going for a certain goal every time. I think it's reaction time and it's structure. So I think the more you play the game, the better the structure gets, and the better your control of the ball gets.
Mm-hmm. What type of play gets you kind of the most hype on the court? What's your favorite type of play?
Blocking is just super fun because going up and someone putting their entire body weight into a swing, and then you just throw it back down at the ground in front of them. I mean, it's honestly, there's just nothing like it. And it's just fun because you got your whole team in it, and it feels kind of like a team effort because you all set up the structure like that. And so I think it's honestly just really fun to do that.
Yeah. At what point are you just unafraid to go up and just throw your body up there? And
I mean, I don't think there's any point where you're unafraid, because there's also, I mean, it's the trust in yourself, because you separate your hands. If you're 6'2", if you separate your arms, it's going to hit me right in the forehead.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's just more trusting yourself. And I've just done it so many times that it's just a structure and just a, muscle memory at this point. So I think it's more blind trust than it is absolute belief that you'll get there.
Yeah. It's a wild sport. So the first match that I covered here in 2019 was Mountain View Bend, and Mountain View had Jasmine Martin, who's this.
Yeah. She's amazing.
She's really good. And I hadn't seen a volleyball player like that. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's just dunking on people, but ended up winning the match. They're just kind of able to eventually make enough plays. It's man, how do you just that ball's coming at you fast, and you just got to kind of find a way to control it.
Mm-hmm. I think it helps that we played with Jasmine since she started volleyball. So for club season, we've all played her in practice every day. And so I think that a lot of the people who play back row, who are the people who are truly defending her, I think that we all know that the best thing you can do is just throw yourself at it, and that she's probably, volleyballs are soft, and if it hits you in the face, it's going to sting a little, but you'll be fine. And So I think that everyone's just kind of like, well, here we go. And I think one of the most exciting things ever is when she's one of the best hitters you'll ever see in Central Oregon and one of the better athletes to come out of here for women's sports. And I think that like watching, like if you manage to get a ball up from what Jasmine swung at you, it's one of your biggest accomplishments.
Yeah. Another thing about volleyball is there a point where the floor burns just don't hurt anymore?
No, never. I mean, I think like if you look at all of our elbows and knees, like your entire legs are like one continuous bruise because knee pads are very useless. And so I think that we all like, your elbows are always floor burned, and I don't think you ever get used to that. But a lot of girls have started wearing elbow pads and like longer knee pads. So I think that, and lower on their knees. So I think that a lot of people are getting better at not floor burning themselves, but I am far too awkward to have that talent yet. So I am still getting covered in them.
There's no other sport that I just like cringe more than
Oh,
volleyball, because like all of a sudden you just hear and it's like, ugh.
the noises that are the worst.
Yeah. So is there like a technique to avoid those, or is it just like, hey, it's just
not really? I mean, the goal of volleyball, like in the last couple of years, it's changed because everyone used to dive on their knees, and a lot of people who used to play volleyball have developed like bone spurs on their knees and like things like that from diving on their knees. So people have like lost mobility in their knees from like a couple of years ago in sports, and so people have discovered that like diving on your hips like on your side is better. So I think that it's like changing in that way, and there's different like specific ways people are learning to dive, but it still hurts just as bad, but just in a different way.
Yeah, it's
brutal.
It's crazy. Yeah, no, it's a real sport to watch sometimes, because like, man, you're like, that is gonna hurt in the morning.
Oh yeah.
All right, so next year you're off to, not even next year, we're like months away from you heading off to Columbia. How are you feeling about that, and what made kind of Columbia the right landing spot for you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think I'm beyond excited to go, and I'm super academic person. I really have a huge passion for learning and for like understanding new things, and so I think that my first priority in going to a college was making sure I get the best education that I possibly can. And I reached out to this coaching staff like sophomore year, and they're just absolutely amazing people. And I feel super lucky to be in one of the greatest cities in the world. And it's been amazing the help I've gotten to get here. And I'm just excited to take this journey with all my teammates and with my coaches.
So when you reach out to them your sophomore year, what's kind of, what's reaching out look like? What are you like, hey, I want to come here. I'm 6'2". I can play volleyball. How's it going?
It took me a long time to be able to formulate a good email. I think I wrote like emails to colleges like 550 times before I decided on the very basic one. But the guidelines have changed now, so schools can't contact you until you're a junior. But when I was a sophomore, I could still talk to colleges. Mm-hmm. And like there were some weird loopholes, like if I accidentally called them and they happened to pick up, then it was illegal. So I emailed them originally and I was like, hi, like my name's Harper. You got to start off with the 6'2". It goes way better if you start off with being tall. And I was basically like, like you guys are everything I look for in a program, as well as everything I look for in a school. I want to be in a big city because I have grown up in a relatively small town of Bend, and something that I wish to experience in college is diversity and learning new cultures and new people, which is something that I felt sheltered from while growing up here. So it's just kind of, I reached out and they emailed me back and they're like, all right, like we want to see you play. So they see you at tournaments. All the coaches come to the super big tournaments that we go to in like Denver and Kansas City and that kind of stuff. And then it's pretty much just like sending the videos of your games to them whenever you possibly can. Then they look at you and then phone calls happen. You basically get to know them. They decide if you're a good fit. I took an official visit in January of last year and kind of I got to stay with 2 girls on campus and kind of got to know the team a little bit better and the coaches a little better, and just fell in love with the school. And I guess I didn't suck either. So it just kind of ended up working out for us.
Yeah. Was that the only kind of school you reached out to, or were there any other programs you reached out, or other ones that kind of showed kind of that interest in you?
Definitely. Yeah. I was talking to Dartmouth and Brown for a little while. And then I also talked to, I was super interested in the process with Oregon State as well as Portland State and Seattle University.
Okay.
So kind of like, both spectrums of like super academic versus like great schools and even better programs. And I ended up leaning more towards the academic than I did towards the athletic. And so that's kind of where I went with my decision.
Okay. What do you want to study?
It's kind of a toss up right now, but I either want to get into the field of genetics, which is like not like make your own baby type stuff, but more of the modifying genetics to help cure diseases, like they're doing with sickle cell anemia right now. Or I want to do stuff with business management side of sciences and maths. So I'm a huge like science and math person, but obviously I'm very chatty, so I don't think that I would be a great lab rat. So I'm looking more into like management of people or like business and advertising.
All right. Well, it sounds like you're on the right path and at the spot you want to be. What are you just kind of looking forward to most about kind of just taking on the Ivy League school experience?
I mean, honestly, one of the biggest draws for me is just the city itself. I think that, New York City is huge and has every single culture and everything in just such a condensed space. And I think that like what I'm most excited for, in addition to like the amazing schooling and playing volleyball for 4 more years, is just being in a city that is like full of inspiration and full of every kind of career I could ever hope for.
Have you been to New York before? Is it kind of just checking out the school kind of the first time you got to experience it?
I went in 8th grade, like during summer for like a school trip, and I hated it because New York in the summer is super hot and the garbage gets really smelly. And I just decided that it was gross and it was overwhelming and I didn't like it. And then I went back for like an overnight volleyball camp at Columbia and just absolutely loved it. After kind of, growing up a little bit more and realizing what I kind of wanted into college. After going back, I was like, this is where I want to be. This is just, instead of seeing like the overwhelming parts of it, I kind of took it more as inspiration and as like a learning experience.
All right. So got any things on your bucket list for Bend? The last, what is it? Probably 3 months you have here, 3-4 months?
Yeah. A couple more months. It seems a lot faster when you think that, but, I think that really important to me is spending more time with my family and more time with my team because, this is close to the last time I'll live at home for an extended amount of time. So I think I'm going to try and spend a lot of time with my little sister and with my parents, in addition to like trying to get myself in every single lake I possibly can in the next, couple months, new lake every day. And so we'll see I'm going to explore and try and get everything done before I leave, but it's pretty much just friends and family time.
All righty. Well, Harper, thank you so much for joining. That's all the questions I got for you. Appreciate you taking some time out of your day and enjoy the rest of your season and the rest of your time as a high school athlete.
Thank you so much.
All righty.
Awesome. It was great talking to you.